Well, hello, everybody. This is Rob again. It's time for a brand new episode of MemberTalks by Washington State Funeral Directors Association. It's May 10th, and we have a very exciting couple of guests, actually, a tag team, if you will. We have Katherine Pendergast and Lacie Brueckner joining us. Now, you may or may not know their names, but they have combined and come together to write a book called In Loving Memory. And it's a child's journey to understanding the funeral and starting the grieving process. Katherine, Lacie, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Now, you guys, just so we all know, you guys are actually out in North Dakota. And it's May. You're not wearing coats. You've got some fresh flowers behind you, so it must be getting springtime out there by now.
Finally, been a long winter this year.
Yes, yeah, it has. Well, thanks for coming on. This is really exciting for me. I got the privilege of meeting you guys in Nashville at the NFDA convention. And what caught my eye was the book that you had, actually the book that we see behind Katherine right now. It was on a table at the expo. And I thought, well, that's interesting because you don't see very many children's books at a funeral convention. And so I wanted to come over and talk with you and kind of figure out what was going on there. Before we jump into the book, though, tell me how it is that the two of you know each other. How is it that the two of you got connected and decided, you know what, we should team up here and write a book? How did that come about?
So I work in the funeral industry, and Lacie is a funeral director. And just through visits at the funeral home, we were talking about some of my other books that I've written. I've been a children's author for a while, and we were just talking about that Lacie kind of wanted to maybe write something, and we wanted to maybe give back to the funeral industry and help children and give a tool that families could use to help during the funeral process. So that was kind of how we ended up coming up with the idea of creating a book.
Wow.
Yeah, Kat was already a children's author, and we knew each other on a funeral basis, and just got to visiting and found we did a little digging in to see what there was available for kids, and there wasn't a whole lot. Yeah. And so we really found that there was a need for them.
Well, so let's even go back a little further. And you go by Kat, is that right? Can I call you Kat or Katherine?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I'll call you Kat. That's easier. Kat, how did you get to the point in your life where you said, you know what, I think it would be a great idea to write a children's book, not just this one, but all the way back, because you've got a number of them that you mentioned.
Yeah. So what happened was I started a baby boutique, and just for fun. And part of that, I would donate part of the sales to animal shelters, just a small portion of it, just to give back. And I incorporated animals into what I was doing. And there was this dog named Pickles that I decided to kind of share a little bit more about her story. She originally was from Minot, North Dakota during the 2011 flood. She kept getting returned to the shelter over and over, and a family member of mine ended up with her, and she was just the best dog ever. So I decided to write my first book about her and a little bit about her adoption. So that one is Pickles the Dog Adopted. And then I started a series of that one, and then kind of evolved into other books from there.
Yeah. And then fast forward, here you come into the funeral home and meet Lacie. And Lacie, you're a funeral director, is that right?
I am, yes.
Right. How long have you been a funeral director?
It's been over 15 years. I graduated from mortuary school in 2005. So,
okay. And what mortuary school did you go to?
The U of M in Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's probably closer for you, isn't it?
It was.
Yeah. So you guys, you're both in North Dakota. One of you's, Kat, you're in the capital, Bismarck. Lacie, you're on the far eastern border.
I am.
So I'm geographically challenged. How far apart are the two of you in doing this?
I'm going to say we're about 3.5 hours away, right? But I just moved out here a couple of years ago. So when we first started this project, I actually lived in Linton, North Dakota, which is just an hour from Bismarck.
Oh, but even an hour away, that's got to be kind of hard to collaborate, and I'm sure you probably came up with using some Google Docs or something where you could work together pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it was kind of interesting because when we were working on the book, it was the middle of COVID. And so Lacie was really busy and we were trying to finish things up and stuff. So it kind of added to the complexity of that as well.
Yeah. Well, you were nice enough to send me a copy of the book ahead of time, and I've had the privilege of reading through it a couple times. It's a quick book, obviously. It's a children's book, so it's not a big novel, but it was very interesting to me, and I love that you have two different versions of the book. One that it focuses on memorial gatherings and cremation, and the other that focuses on visitation and seeing grandma, if you will. I love that because I've been around for seems like forever, not as long as some people, but longer than many. And there's just not anything really out there that is like this. There's not something out there. I mean, you guys came up with an idea and you saw a huge need, a huge void that needed filled, and you filled it.
Absolutely. And that was one of the most important features for me, was the visitation part of the book. Yeah. Because it really can help kids see a visual of what they might actually experience at the funeral home.
Exactly.
Yep. And we couldn't find any other books that showed, like you said, grandma in a casket. It didn't exist. Yep.
And Kat's actually holding up a picture of that page that shows the family standing there looking at visiting with grandma, having a good time and seeing the service and the casket and everything. So I think the one I have that one. I think I can share that here. Let me do a quick screen share and see. Are you able to see my screen there?
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's if you're watching the video, and this is definitely one, we say this every once in a while. If you're listening at home on podcast, you also want to watch this one on video, because there's a lot of great pictures that are in here. A lot of great great stories that are in here. I think we can make it a little larger there. And I don't want to give away the whole book, but just this picture alone, with Harper and her family standing there next to grandma's casket, is just so powerful, because you're right. Kids don't, well, even adults a lot of times anymore, especially out west here, don't have this experience. They don't have the experience of going up and standing next to their loved one that's on display in a visitation and being able to see them and say goodbye. It's just not something that happens very often in out west where we're at. I don't know for where you guys are at if it does more, but it's a very powerful experience to have that and to be able to say goodbye. And this picture just alone, I mean, is extremely powerful to show kids this is something that you can do. It's something that you should do. And it's something that is not wrong. It's not wrong to cry. It's not wrong to remember.
Right. And it's not wrong to talk about death either.
Exactly.
Especially with children. I think we fear that. We fear talking about death with children. And this can be a great tool to help facilitate that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, the idea of the book itself is just amazing to me, because it kind of walks through from giving a example of how to let your child know that a loved one has passed, to how do you start to work through what you're feeling. It talks about, making monster cookies. I don't know what monster cookies are, but they sure sounded good.
They are good.
They look good in the picture.
And it's funny, in the Spanish versions, the translation for monster cookie is just not there, because maybe it's more of a Midwestern thing to have monster cookies, but it's basically a Frankenstein combination of a bunch of things, like oatmeal and peanut butter and,
Oh my gosh.
Chocolate
M&Ms,
chips, M&Ms. Yeah.
all these things, and they're kind of combined. And I don't know, it's my favorite cookie. And so that's kind of how it ended up. But we talked about how our grandmas always made like a certain thing that they were almost like famous for. And so that was kind of where that inspiration came from. Yeah.
Well, we got to stop talking about the cookies because I skipped lunch today and I still got a couple hours before dinner. So I'm already getting hungry. But yeah, it really, to me, I was impressed with how it kind of flowed from all of that to, going into the visitation, going into the memorial service, even the book, the version of the book that was talking about the cremation. And you're not going to see grandma because she was cremated, but you will see an urn, and this is her cremated remains. To me, that right there, in my experience, is extremely important because, as you know, you've been in the funeral profession. Kids will walk into the funeral home and their last image of their loved one, whether that's grandma or grandpa or whoever that might be, is what they're hoping to see. And then they see this urn on the table. And I've had kids tell me, how did you get grandma into that urn? Is she all squished up? I mean, how did you get her in there? Because they don't, it's not a comprehension of, well, she was cremated and we took her cremated remains and we placed her into this urn. But you guys really dive into that, even though it's just a one-page topic, it really explains it well.
Yep. We wanted to keep it brief, but yet informative at the same time. And I think we were able to pull that off.
Now, Kat, you mentioned something a minute ago I thought was very intriguing. So you sent me the cremation memorial book, which is almost identical with the exception of a page or two to the viewing visitation book, but you said your book is also in Spanish as well, Spanish translations.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah, we just thought that, there's a lot of Spanish speaking people in the US, and why not do that? So that was the very first book that I've ever had translated into another language. So it was a new experience for me, but I think it turned out great. And it's awesome that we're selling all over the world, actually, through Amazon. Funeral homes can order wholesale through me, but there's just families that have found the book somehow, some way, and just order it from Amazon, and Amazon ships that to them. So we don't even really do a lot with that, but it's pretty cool.
I'm excited for you guys. That's got to be such a great feeling to see the fruition of this idea come to life and to watch where it goes and how it spreads across the globe in this book. And it really goes back to that original concept of, I'm in funeral service to serve people. And this is why we're doing it. And this is just another outreach or another extension of that service. That's got to be a wonderful feeling when you go to bed at night to think, oh my gosh, somebody, this book that we wrote is helping somebody in a foreign country or, wherever.
Yeah.
That's got to make you feel pretty well.
And I think Lacie and I have talked about this before too, that it was kind of interesting, a little surprising how many adults we ended up helping. A lot of adults had never attended a funeral in their life, and suddenly they're faced with this funeral and they have children and trying to explain it. And they said that they read the book and actually it helped them as an adult. And they're like, you know what, let's do these grieving mourning activities all as a family. And it just was really powerful and impactful for them as adults.
I could see that. I could picture that, as adults, especially male adults, we're pretty tough. We don't want to show our emotions, and we don't want to let people know that we have feelings. And a lot of that, when you look at some of the literature that's out there is kind of sterile. It's kind of scientific in some aspects. And does it really connect with you? For me, this was great. I love it. I watch cartoons with my kids still, And so seeing a book, I don't want to call it a comic book because it's not really a comic book. It's I don't even know what it's labeled as, but it's
a children's storybook, I
is that
suppose,
okay?
right?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's colored and it looks really well. It's an amazing thing. And I like the fact that you talked about being in the funeral home and being at the service and and then what happened afterwards, how we all got together for dinner and we shared our stories and that, even in that is really powerful because it continues to keep that person's memory alive and sharing those stories.
Yeah. And one thing we did too is we worked very closely with the illustrator and especially Lacie on the body. We wanted that to be just perfect, not a scary thing, just very soft and very beautiful. And just really throughout the book, the vibe of the book, it's not overly sad, but at the same time, it's not happy. So I think we really had a great illustrator that really nailed it on all of the illustrations for us.
Yeah.
And she was from where again? Was it Poland, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Our illustrator was from Poland. So that was kind of neat too.
Really?
Yep.
Was she in Poland when she illustrated this?
Yep.
How does that process work? Just, I know it's kind of off subject, but how does that process work? Do you send the story and they come back with pictures, or do you kind of give them a storyboard of this is what I want it to look like and then let them kind of do their thing?
I did kind of sketch out a couple of the scenes, just little stick figures on kind of an idea and she took it from there.
Yep. And we had a manuscript that had details about what we generally wanted on each page. And then she just really created it from that. So it's really cool to see that.
She did a great job. Mm-hmm. She did a great job in not just in the illustrations, but in the idea that, what we're seeing is really representative of an American style funeral.
Right.
Versus with her being you said in Poland. I'm sure there's a lot of there's probably some similarities, but I'm sure there's a lot of differences. And so, I don't know if she's ever done one of these before, but she probably learned a few things as well about American style funerals.
Absolutely.
I was, one thing that really kind of excited me, and I know I keep kind of letting the cat out of the bag a little bit on all the different aspects of the book, but one thing that excited me was the conversation that was in here, Harper being the kind of the main character, if you will, and getting up in front of people and talking. Kids love to share. We know that. But opening up this possibility within this story to Harper being able to share her memories in front of people, it doesn't happen very often. Most funerals, the kid, they want to say something, but they kind of get tucked away in the corner and, let this be for the adults type thing. And I was very happy to see that you opened that door and said, you know what, let's have Harper share as well, and make this book about Harper and what's going on in Harper's life. So I commend you on that. I thought that was really a great avenue to go down in your book that you wrote.
Yeah. And I think too, with that, even if they don't share it at the service or at the visitation or anything like that, just sharing it with their family. Yeah. What was your favorite memory? Do you want to share? Do you want to talk about it? And so it can kind of go a longer way down the road too.
Yeah. So beginning to end, from the time you sat there and went, you know what, let's write a book. Let's look at how kids comprehend funerals, to the point where you finally got it in your hand and you said, here's our finished product. How long did that take you?
Do you think it was maybe a year? Close.
I'm going to say a year to a year and a half, somewhere in that time frame.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's definitely a project of love. I mean, I can see that you really put a lot of thought to it, and I think it's a great thing. I actually want to go on, I'm going to go on to Amazon and get a couple copies and add them to our library here to be able to offer those to people for part of continuing ed and that sort of thing. And to also help you guys promote it a little bit. I think it's a wonderful experience. Even showing pictures at the cemetery and things like that, it's just, boy, it just goes through everything. I'm kind of scrolling through pictures of it while we're talking right now, looking at it. There's those big monster cookies that they're all sitting around. Oh, those look good.
They do.
Yeah. Besides Amazon, how do we get the book? How do we order? You said we can order directly through you, Kat. Is that right?
Yep. So I have a website, katssocks.com. It's KATSSOCKS.com. And on there, they're available. If a funeral home wants to order it in bulk, we have bulk discounts available and stuff as well. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Now, do you have a stock of those there where you're at? So if we order a couple for our library, maybe we can get a signed copy or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a couple thousand sitting here.
That's awesome. And Lacie, is there any other places, Amazon or direct through Kat? Is there any other things that you can share with us on maybe how to find it? I know it's a digital format.
Yep.
Sent that. Is that something that can be added to it, or is that something that you buy the digital copy?
So Kat's a little more familiar with that. I believe that's through Amazon as well, right?
Okay.
Yep. So like Kindle, it's available on Kindle through Amazon as well, if you want it electronically.
Yeah. I think that's really a great way to do it too, with funeral homes being able to, kids come to arrangements or families talk about their kids that are home while they're making the arrangements. And I think it's a great opportunity for a funeral home to be able to share that as a gift to the family and to say, here's something that may or may not help you. It's something that we believe in, but, share it with the kids.
Yeah. And a lot of times, funeral directors, when they're doing arrangements, they'll just simply say, are there any children in the family? And would you like a tool that helps open up the conversation about the funeral? And a lot of times they'll say, absolutely, we'd love that. And it just kind of makes them a hero almost, in that they're providing this tool. And then other funeral homes, they'll use it in networking ways, such as putting it, we can put stickers together, put it on the book, and it's a complimentary copy that can go to hospice or a church or whatever networking group that they want it to go to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to share it with a few of my funeral home friends out here for sure, and let them know that it's available. I know a number of our providers that would just love the idea of being able to provide something like this to their families. And I think it's a great gift. And I got to commend you guys. I think I love it when I meet people that have seen a void and have been able to fill that void with something positive and something that grows a funeral service past where we've been in the last 100 years. So I'm excited for you. What's next for you? Are you going to are you thinking about writing another one, or are you going to continue to go around and show this one for a bit?
Yeah, well, I think we're actually looking at doing maybe a pet one here, so you might see that in the future. Yep.
Well, I tell you what, we got to have you all come out to Washington, because we, I don't know if you know this or not, but we have 2 additional forms of disposition that
yes, you do.
You could be writing about as well, and teaching kids about those too.
Yep.
I think that would be very fun.
That would be really neat.
Yeah, if you ever want to come out, you let me know. We'll see
do
about
that
getting out here and putting you in contact with the right people.
Yeah, we actually at convention met. I can't remember her name, and she worked with the compost. Is it compost, right?
Yeah, terramation we call it.
Yeah, so she was working with that, and she said the same thing. If you're ever out here, let us know.
That was probably Bree or Katie. Katie, yeah.
I remember Katie. Yep.
Kate, we love Katie. Katie's actually one of our board members.
Oh, nice. Yeah, she was a gem to talk to.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun. Bree is a lot of fun. The CEO out there, he's a fireball. He's a lot of fun. But I know they would love to have you come write a book about them. So would our alkaline hydrolysis folks. So yeah, there's a
Right.
lot of options out here. We'd love to have you come out.
Yep.
So, well, thank you so much. This has just been truly a pleasure to number one, to see you guys again, but to talk about this. What I guess the question is, if somebody wants to reach out to you, where would be the best way? Do you have a website or an email or something you'd share with us that we can let people know how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the website, catsocks.com. You can reach out there. Email address is cats, KATS, at catsocks.com. And definitely reach out to us, and we'll answer any questions you might have and get your order placed for sure.
When I first got that email, I got to tell you, I was excited for it, number one, but I was confused because it was cat socks. And I know there was a vendor at the expo that was giving away socks. And I'm like, oh, is this, I've been trying to find who that person was because those socks were awesome.
Oh, funny.
Well, and where that name came from is originally when I started my baby boutique, I make these little baby shoes, and it's called Cat's Socks because they're little baby booties. And when I wrote my first book, I thought, well, this might be kind of a fun, weird name to be Cat Socks. And just a name that kids could remember, because my name is really hard for little kids to say. Katherine's a hard name. Pendergast is hard. So just made it into a fun name. And that's where it kind of came from.
That's awesome. Well, it's been I always say that it's been a real pleasure, but it has. It's you guys, I've just enjoyed getting to know you. I've enjoyed the book tremendously. And we get a number of books sent to us, and we've had a number of conversations with a number of different authors. But this one is definitely one that is in the record books for me. I just thought it was the coolest thing to be able to sit and read this. And we're going to place an order with you. We're going to go on and get something ordered up and get a few of these sent out this way so we can have actual copies. Well, thank you so much. If you get a chance, go on to Amazon, go to the website. It's called In Loving Memory. The book is called In Loving Memory. And the rest of it, I've got it right here. A Child's Journey to Understanding a Funeral and Starting the Grieving Process. And wonderful book. Lacie, Brueckner, Katherine, Pendergast, authors. Oh, yeah. And Svetlana, and I'm not even going to try her last name as the illustrator. But she did a wonderful job too. So Svetlana, if you ever get a chance to see this, thank you, because you did a wonderful job. When we send those books out to me, if you can put one of those monster cookies in a Ziploc and send it out with it as well, I'd be enjoying one of those.
Perfect.
Might be able to make that happen, right?
Yeah, that works. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for finding that void that was needed filled and for filling it. Thank you, as we always say, for joining the conversation, because that's really what gets funeral service out into the public eye, is just these conversations. And we are excited to sit down with you and have that conversation with you.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right. Until next time, everybody, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.